I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of It Came From the 80s, hosted by the Nerf Herders. It's a gathering of old friends who try to stay cool in the 21st century while reliving our childhood dreams. I'm your host, Carter, and joining us as always on the podcast is Ray, the critic after the credits. And rounding out our trio is Jason, the token millennial resident nerd and that jackass that won't shut up. So guys, what's on the agenda this week? Alright, so guys, last week we reviewed Critters, Jason's sci-fi crap movie of the week pick.
Hey, it was not a crap movie. Masters of the Universe was worse.
Okay, I think you have name-dropped Masters of the Universe more than I ever name-dropped Aquaman.
False. Master of the Universe didn't show up until we started talking about Masters of the Universe. Aquaman showed up, which you mentioned that on your own again. This time, you've mentioned it every episode. Almost.
No, I haven't. I have not mentioned it in the last couple episodes.
Okay,
so I had to mention it tonight to prove a point. Anyway, back on topic here. One minute in and we're off topic. Jason's movie last week was Critters, and I picked a classic 80s movie that I enjoyed called Band of the Hand. You guys have never heard of it, which I'm not surprised. Not a lot of people did, but I would, this movie, to kind of fill the audience in, it's a story about these 5 juveniles from Miami, Florida area that are all multiple offenders, and they're on their last strike with the judicial system. Otherwise, they get tried as adults. And these guys like gang members, and there's a dude, Latino gang member, and a guy from a black gang, and then there's this we'll call it young Cuban or Colombian drug guy. There's this guy white. I don't know if he's a white supremacist. He's just a runner. Swamp, white trash guy, I guess you will. And then there's, Crazy, who shot his mom's boyfriend, father-in-law, who knows. But he's just a little crazy. So they all get sent out to the swamp where...
clarification too. Crazy also blew up like the science lab at the school too.
True. He
Very nonchalant. He was just kind of like, boom, all right, cool. I'm gonna get on my bike and go on home.
And then shoot my dad. Two things happened very quickly. It escalated. It went from, and was that the school, or so that was the school, right? Or
we
just making up as a school? I just assumed it was someplace. Didn't even matter. He just blows that up and then just nonchalantly rides his bike home and shoots his dad. I mean, hey, okay, go ahead.
And so they get thrown out into the swamp where Joe, played by Stephen Lang,
which is amazing.
He's a badass. Basically, is their warden and teaches them, with a string and a fishing hook you can feed yourself, and with a knife you can clothe yourself and provide shelter. And so teaching these kids, survival skills, and it took them a long time to really kind of come together, in a common good. So, there was a lot of infighting on the island. The runner kid, I forgot his name, Dorsey, he tries to escape, and Joe has to go get him and bring him back, and he gets bit by a snake. And so I don't know how long this time on the island was. I would assume probably several weeks, if not months.
Too long.
Ray didn't thought they were too much time there, learning to work together. And then they go to Miami and tries to see if they can help a community become better than it is. They take over this house. It's basically all, there's a lot of illegal immigrants taking up residency, and drug dealers and drug addicts. So they kick out the drug addicts and try to build this house. And obviously that starts a war with the local gang lord who likes to sell drugs in that area, and so picks a fight with them, and ultimately comes down to them going in an awesome battle against the Miami's drug kingpin, played by James Remar, where they kill him. and then they ride off back into the sunset. So, the movie itself, I enjoyed it a lot. No real particular reason. I just like the story, but seeing these kids kind of come together. And Crazy had the coolest jacket I've ever. And I looked for that jacket when I was a kid forever. He had like this trench coat with like Sergeant Rock comic book on it and all sorts of cool stuff. And I could never find it. And my mom looked for it for me too. She knew how much I loved it. But I digress. Just a good story. Kids overcoming social barriers to defeat the Larry Fishburne and provide a better life for themselves. So
that's what you got out of that movie?
Yeah.
Dude, the movie was about a kid named Carlos on the wrong side of the tracks trying to get enough money for him and his girlfriend Nikki to get away from the rough streets of what was it? Miami?
Yes.
And start a future and have sex. That's what the movie was about. That's exactly what the movie was about.
Well, in your simplistic view of saying every movie we talk about is all about a guy getting laid.
Yes, I was going to say that too. It's like Ray has got this really perverse thought of every movie is about somebody trying to get laid.
It's true.
No.
Go ahead, Jason. You tell us what you think of thought of the movie.
I didn't enjoy. I honestly didn't enjoy the movie that much. I watched a similar movie in the '90s called Only the Strong with Mark Dacascos. I think that's how you say his name. And very, very similar setup. A bunch of troubled kids can't hack it in society. So the sensei guru guy comes along and breaks them down and builds them back up as outstanding citizens. Which, it's a Cinderella type story in that respect. They're trying to better themselves and teach self-value, self-worth, and respect and honor and brotherhood and trust and those types of things. But it was just kind of campy to me. But I did enjoy the movie. The gunfire scenes, obviously, the action scenes. I felt they drug out the swamp scenes and stuff a little too long. But at the same time, the movie's more about them being broken down and built up. And then once they have redeemed, have this, this band brotherhood of this band, if you will. It's about
hand, actually.
It's about that unification and what they're doing there. And then, of course, Ruben's, played by Lauren Holly and stuff. She's tweaked out, and then he gets mad, and they got to save her. And it's about getting justice on that and stopping the drug lords and getting justice for, was it Joe's character Joe and stuff like that at the end. I felt like, it's an okay movie. It definitely, I felt like it was a much more dated movie than most other movies from the 80s. Production, camera quality wise and stuff.
Carter, you gonna rebuttal?
You're muted, buddy.
All right, better.
Yeah.
Given the time it was made, sure, okay. Cinematography isn't what it is today, but the story I think is universal. You looking at a microcosm in today's culture. We have kids facing the same problems. Probably even more so, even more divided than we are today.
Absolutely.
Than we were back then. So getting kids from all walks of life to work together was the goal. Was Joe's ideal. He wasn't trying to train soldiers.
No.
That was a byproduct of the environment that they were in. They had to learn. They had to learn to be a fire team. Learn to fight combat once they got out of the swamp. The whole purpose of the swamp was learning to work together, and overcome racial barriers and try to get laid, as Ray likes to say it.
That was true.
I agree. I think I agree with you about what the premise of the movie was about. I do feel like that the movie, it's one of those things is it's like the movie was written. I feel like the script started out to be like, hey, we're going to do this story about troubled kids, breaking them down, building them back up, breaking down social barriers, cultural barriers, all that kind of stuff, economic situations, all those things, and make them become a unified group. And we that's kind of the perfect world we want everything to be in, regardless of your your background, your ethnicity, or whatever else. I thought that was great. But then it's like it was like once they got to the halfway house, I felt like they could have done a couple of things and ended the movie almost. But it's almost like somebody came in, and this is kind of that critical side of it. I feel like they're like, all right, cool. Now we introduce drug guys. Now we're going to introduce a conflict, and Stephen Lang dies, but it's also, he's like, this is no longer your battle. It's like the Vietnam side of the veteran side of him kind of snapped, and he was like, we're going to war now. And all of a sudden, he's like, we're going to train you guys to be soldiers, because he does do that before he dies to an extent.
Sure.
But that wasn't the initial intent, but it's almost like I feel like the script got flipped on him or something from a story standpoint.
Well, I think
it felt like they were going
to
one
make a
direction,
2-hour
and then
movie,
just,
they had to add
right.
something into the end of it. And,
Yeah.
And I think that was it. So
it could have been a good Shawshank type movie if they continued with the story and a little more struggle and stuff, and where he comes out on the end, or they all come out in the end resurrected as like upstanding citizens or something. But that would have been a different direction.
Yeah, they weren't making movies like that in 1987.
No.
In Miami, Florida.
No.
I'm not gonna lie. This is the perfect 80s movie. I mean, some things just lasted way too long. I do have to apologize to Carter. Jason, we had a conversation because I was in the middle of watching this movie, right? And I was 45 minutes in. They're still in the jungle or the Everglades, and I was like, okay, where the hell did they get the bear from? Because I called Carter. I was like, I can't do it. I can't just suspend belief that there's a bear there. And he's like, no, there's bears there. So I actually had to Google, and he is correct. There are bears in the I didn't know there were black bears in the Everglades. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have fun with this movie. Now, are there
was it a mountain lion they ran into as well?
I didn't even care at that point. Once I saw there was black bears, it was said that there are many different animals in the Everglades. So I was like, you know what?
It is a melting pot of creatures.
Right. So I'm just gonna go with it. And then from that point, I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. And enjoy I did, because that firefight in the middle of the street, I'm like, no one's calling the cops. There's no cops coming. They're just gonna keep shooting. And
they show up eventually. You hear them coming.
No, are they coming there, or are they just coming? Like, no, I think are they going someplace? There. I don't know. But the firefight was amazing. These kids just knew how to use guns after playing paintball. And again, they didn't shoot a paintball. Joe shot paintballs at them, but yet
they never fired a weapon the entire time. Yeah.
Right. And then the best part is when they're trying to blow up the drug lord palace, whatever, like the drug stronghold, when they pulled out that gun and those two dudes cannot leave that
the mini gun.
Behind the limousine.
Yeah, they couldn't leave from behind the limousine. Like I swear, like they shot that same scene like 18 times, because like every time they tried to get up, oh no.
That car got shot hell and back though. That was the funniest thing about it.
Right.
And I have to say this too, from a critiquing standpoint, those bullets would have shredded that minivan and them up. That would have gone straight through that car.
Oh yeah. Like that limousine was gone. Like they were dead too. So it doesn't even matter. But again, I enjoyed the movie. It was pretty cool. I mean, is it dated? Yes. That's severe. Yeah. But it was still a fun little ride. Like they took a little long in the Everglades. I think they should have shortened that a little bit. I would have liked to known a little bit more. It seems like the weird part was like they don't let you know who the kids are, right? So all you see is like this one crime, then they get thrown in jail.
Real quick, let me throw this out. They're supposed to be like teenagers, like 16, 15-year-old, 17-year-old teenagers. They're like 25, 28-year-old men actors. I thought that was the other thing that kind of annoyed me. It's like it was like what was Teen Wolf. Everybody looks like they're in their early 30s or something, but they're supposed to be in high school.
Zac Efron wasn't born when they started filming this movie, I guess.
No,
we didn't have High School Musical yet.
Right.
But no, this. I mean, like I said, it was just. I think they should have cut down a little bit of time in the Everglades and kind of explored who people were, because like the first scene you see is like this. Is it a gang fight, or is it just a fight in the middle of the streets? That's why I didn't know where we were at first. And then they just picked two people out of I guess the gang leaders. Like that's going to stop anything. I wanted to know more about them instead of just, little brief things like the crazy kid. It would have been understandable if we'd have seen more of him walking in and seeing his mom get slapped. And why is it Carlos, right? I'm just going to keep jumping all around this movie. So Carlos sees that Nikki is with old boy, right? And so he snaps his fingers. She walks off. Then he goes and finds her again at his homeboy's house, right? And then he just slaps her, but then starts kissing her. I'm like, What? There's a lot of domestic violence going on in this movie, and it seems to be
that's
okay.
the other thing too. The soundtrack was kind of all over.
Awesome.
The place.
It was awesome.
No, it was over the place.
It's awesome.
It's great. I mean, they had some great true 80s movies in there. I mean, you had Mr. Broken Wings, tons of Bob Dylan, which I felt was kind of out of place, but it worked. But it was I don't know. Here's my question. Taking the movie from what it was, do you think if it was remade today, but the same story was used, ages, and Nestor, and that's the other thing that kind of tripped me out is Lauren Holly is supposed to play a 16-year-old, and in one scene, James Remar sitting on the couch with a tray of Coke, and literally goes, "Why don't you go upstairs?"
After he asked her how old she was.
Yeah, after he asked her how old she was, she goes, "I'm 16." Now I don't know if she was lying because he's like, "You know how to handle yourself," and this it sounds like she's lying a little bit or something, but
she's not.
But I was like, okay,
she was really 15.
I don't know, but they basically showcase pedophilia in the movie.
Okay. Well,
Nestor's a
by the
cokehead
legal
toucher.
definition, sure. Okay.
Yeah, Nestor's a cokehead toucher. Let's just put it out there. But you put all that kind of stuff in together. Do you think they can make this movie today and it be a success, or would it be one of those critical, we're going to riot in the street nightmares?
I think they could. I think you can retell the story.
I think if you do, while they're in the jungle, he has to explain like, "Hey, I was a part of the Band of the Hand. This is what we were." It has to be one of those things where I liked it better if Joe would have explained the Band of the Hand better, instead of just saying you're like 5 fingers, part of a hand, and that's all he really says about it. And they don't really
call them a band at first, and then he goes, "You're all like 5 fingers on a hand," and
yeah,
the Band of the Hand thing, it's a weird name for the group, but
it was the name of his group in what's name though?
Vietnam.
It was his Vietnam group, and like
I said, was it? Okay, I never caught that part.
Yeah, whenever they looked at the pictures of Joe and his people, and they all had their hands up, that's when they were like Band of the Hand. See, I think he should have. It would have been better for he to explain that. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I think you could remake this movie today, and you take a guy, and he's a Desert Storm veteran, teaching a bunch of kids how to survive in the desert together to come back to Los Angeles.
So hanging out in the middle of Arizona.
Yeah, doing Burning Man, could come back and move into the slums of Los Angeles and fight, gang warfare, whatever. I think they could. I think they could redo it today.
What happened to the Haitian family as fire was raining down on this house?
They all ran out the back. Remember?
They ran out the back.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah, I missed that part then. Yeah, I was more concerned about everybody else, to be honest.
So yeah, I think you can make it today, and you wouldn't have to change much of the story whatsoever.
So I thought what was interesting, I was looking up some it was like trivia on the movie, just off of IMDb. It was originally pushed to be a network series, on a network television series, and it failed to air as a pilot, and that's when they made it to a movie.
I think it would have been a lot better.
I think that explains a lot of why some of the stuff was drug out and some of the stuff was sped up, is because they were going to make this into like a new age kind of the young A-Team, if you will, or something.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot better as a TV show, because you could have had them infiltrating like different places, a quote unquote 21 Jump Street type thing.
Yeah, and edgier 21 Jump Street.
And Nikki, who had no training whatsoever, was able to shoot a gun like it was nothing. She killed a couple people.
No offense, it's not hard to shoot a gun. I mean, you squeeze the trigger.
Right, but it's hard to hit somebody.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, at no point. I mean, I think she does, but if you show her and she's shooting the gun, and she's just kind of waving it around, crazily. It's only when Renmar gets up close and personal and tries to grab the shotgun, she pulls the trigger.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which I hate those scenes. It's like, give me the gun, Nicky, and he puts his hand on it, and then shoots him. It's like, why don't we just shoot him? We don't need the dramatic.
Yeah,
just blow him away and be done with it.
Yeah, of course.
I give the movie a D+.
Wow,
that's mean.
Hey, D meant diploma for me in high school, so that's actually pretty good.
Not. I give it I mean, if we're doing grades now, which is okay, we're just adding something new to this. No, I guess it's a solid B plus as a '80s movie. I mean, it was entertaining. Like I said, it would have been a lot better if they would explain a couple things, and if we wouldn't have been out in the jungle or the Everglades for so long. But I like the fact that he made crazy. What's his old man's name? Moss made crazy do his own little bed or whatever, and then when he
made it into the snare
booby trap. Yeah, that was kind of dope.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
But
there were some good parts to it, but overall, I mean, it's one of those movies like I would probably turn it on and probably not even finish it all the way through. But I mean, it's definitely a true '80s movie for sure.
I think you're Ray. I'm with you on this, Jason. I think you're full of crap. I think it's a good movie, better than Mac and Me or Critters, better than Beastmaster. May not be an '80s icon like Beastmaster, but I think it was a better movie.
It's not. Oh, well, hold on. So let's say right now. Let's say the top of our list right now, and we're going to take critically acclaimed stuff off the menu. So like Back to the Future, all that stuff. We know those are good. Teen Wolf, we know that's good. But this would probably be maybe slightly under. Well, not slightly, because Big Trouble in Little China was great. So if Big Trouble in Little China,
no. Big Trouble in Little China is classic '80s gold. That's like you can't put that's up there with Back to the Future and Teen Wolf.
All right.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I'll give you that. Fine. So I'm saying, this is like I said about a B. This is a B plus movie so far that we've watched. It doesn't rank up there with those, but I mean it's a classic '80s movie.
Okay.
Like you got your whole '80s genre. This is what you expect if you're going to the movies in the '80s. You're just going to an average movie, not a blockbuster. If you're just going to the movies one day in the '80s, this is what you're going to see.
Yeah, I'd give you that. I mean, numbers wise, Jason gave it a D. Ray gave it a B. I'm closer to the B range here. Numbers wise, had a estimated budget of $8.7 million. It failed to meet budget. 2.2 on opening weekend. It grossed 4.8 million and had a worldwide gross of 5.3 million. So it fell short of budget by $3 million. So didn't make a whole lot of money. Actually lost money. But I don't know. Needless to say, it's still a movie I enjoyed. It's a movie I watched a lot as a kid. I didn't have any problems with it. I mean, I would like to live in the swamp and do all that stuff, and then just walk and then come together to like the world's largest tailgate party where the Indian band is just rocking and people are having this big tailgate and cooking food up and singing and having a good time. Then you make it to the streets of Miami to use a little Mark Twain style reverse psychology to get your homeboys to paint the house. I mean, there was a lot of lessons to be learned from this movie. And that's some of the stuff I took from it. Like I said, kids learning to work together against cultural differences and various backgrounds to put themselves second behind a common good. So real quick, deeper message I took a lot from.
No, I agree with you.
Which Mark Twain story? I just want to see if you know.
Huckleberry Finn.
Okay, cool.
So where he, basically convinces the kids to paint the fence for him.
No, I got it. I just wanted to see if you knew off the top of your head.
Yeah. So getting the the black guy and the Cuban or Puerto Rican. I don't know what Hector was, or Carlos was Colombian, I would assume.
I think Carlos was Colombian, and because he talked about going to Colombia as a child. I think Hector was supposed to be Hispanic.
Okay.
Or Latin, I don't know.
I would
like Latin Kings.
Yeah, I would probably So getting these cultural, just the whole first half of the movie, these two guys are at each other's throats. They're at each other's throats on the bus. The fights, everything is between Carlos and Moss, and then they finally, of all the people, those two finally come to common ground. So, I don't know. I liked it, despite the. The Rotten Tomatoes score probably would be shit, and the box office it said it lost money.
So I think when you from overall D, but from once you're talking about the underlying story, the deeper look in it, definitely B. Action scene C. So, but I go with a D overall, just because it just didn't keep me pulled in. But it was good. I mean, I would watch it again if I really wanted to, if I had nothing better to watch. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Well, not much more to say. I guess next week, Ray. Let me rephrase that. You know, like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, something memorable about the movie. I'm obviously the only one that saw this as a kid. I think my mom rented it or dad rented it or something, and I watched it with them, and I ended up buying it, or maybe back in the old days before Blockbuster Video, you had to hook your VCR up to your cable box and you could record in line. I think I probably did that and pulled this thing off Cinemax or something, but had it on tape and watched it while I was a kid. So
what was the point? Hold on. What was the point of the dark arts? I never got that either.
I think Nestor was into black magic.
For no reason. I mean, so there was really no reason.
Well, obviously there was a reason. Maybe the black magic is why he became the cocaine king of Miami. Who knows?
Nah. Nope. No reason. Again. Go ahead. So you pulled it off of Skinemax. Okay. I can see that.
Yeah, that's probably my memorable moment of the movie. So anyway, thanks for tearing it apart, guys. I really appreciate this. This has been a great night. You guys are awesome. So
pick a better movie.
I guess a week ago, y'all were jazzed about this. I think y'all teamed up, so we got to find a way to make this movie suck.
I will honestly say this: like the reading about the short description, like, oh, this sounds awesome. You know, a bunch of dudes, and we're gonna go out, kind of be our own Vice and take on the drug cartels. I was sitting there the entire time going, okay, where are the guns? Where's the action at? The best thing ever, Lawrence Fishburne's credits is Larry Fishburne.
Yeah, no, we talked about that last week.
I know.
So I said, is it Lawrence or Larry that was playing? But that's the thing. I kind of agree with Jason. I was waiting the whole time for. I think I wanted more of them interacting. Yeah, I needed more interaction with them. Like, okay, we learned all this new stuff. Let's go use it. You know what I mean? And it took a while for that to happen. And then when it did, it just, I don't know, didn't meet expectations. But in the 80s, this was, like I said, it's a perfect 80s. Perfect 80s movie. So, I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed watching it the first time. I just needed more. And this would have been perfect as a TV series. Like you said, this needed to be like the first season needed to be them taking down this big cartel drug lord, or at least, learning how to do that before they actually did it. They just rushed too much stuff for me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it makes sense. Go ahead.
Fair enough.
It's a great premise, is what I'm trying to say. It's a very great premise. They could do it again.
I think the only reason why it wasn't a TV show is because this was either written. Michael Mann was involved in this movie. I don't think he directed it, but he was involved in this. Michael Mann was the guy behind Miami Vice. So I think if they did this to a full TV show, it'd be too much like that, I would assume.
That's probably why the pilot didn't air, if you think about it, because it has a lot of Miami Vice, 21 Jump Street.
When did 21 Jump Street come out?
That was the 90s, wasn't it?
No. The original TV show was probably mid 80s. It was like one of Fox's.
Yes, I'm saying
1987.
You see, I think that's what happened. I think 21 Jump Street came out, and you can't. This came
out in 86.
But I still
probably what was happening is they were probably pitching all of these back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And 21 Jump Street got picked, and then everybody was like, well, this is already getting picked. We're not going to do career suicide and try to compete.
Right.
Yeah, and Miami Vice came out in 1984, so it was
already out.
How long did Miami Vice run?
Forever.
5 seasons.
Forever.
Well, it's back out now, too.
Forever.
Say what?
Yeah, they did a reboot of Miami Vice.
They did?
Yes.
With Jamie Foxx, right?
Oh.
Oh, they did the movie. They're not bringing back the TV show, are they?
Yes.
When? I haven't seen anything about this.
It says it's in a TV movie in development.
No, what was it then? Maybe it's not in my... What's the one with Burt, or was it Burt Reynolds? He's in the
Magnum
Ferrari?
P.I.?
Magnum P.I., that's what I'm thinking of.
Burt Reynolds was not in Magnum P.I.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, whatever. Both of them had epic mustaches.
It did.
Well, Ray, what is your 80s movie for next week?
My 80s movie is actually a 80s classic. And I guarantee, Jason, if you haven't seen this movie, I will be highly disappointed in your childhood. I know Carter's seen it probably just as many times as I have and probably still enjoys it. It's just been a couple of years since I've actually sat down and watched it. So I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and watching it again. My movie is Lost Boys.
Not bad. I like that one.
That was a good one.
Of course you both do. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I told you last week I'm going to pick a great movie.
What are the brothers? What are they called? The
Frog Brothers.
Frog Brothers.
Supposedly there's a reboot or rework of that in the works too.
Yeah.
They had been talking about doing that for a long time, but it was...
That's the Frog Sisters now.
Back when Corey Haim was still alive, they wanted to do it, but apparently him and... Corey Haim was, I guess, a piece of work to work with, so they were wanting to do stuff without him, because I remember that was it the Two Coreys or whatever they did, a TV show.
Yeah.
And they talked about it, how Feldman and the Frog Brothers were doing some Lost Boys circuit stuff, like going to Comic-Cons and all that, and nobody wanted Haim around, and so...
Yeah. Now, CW is rebooting it, and it's going to be the Lost Boys, but it's going to be the Frog Sisters, apparently.
Why not?
I just sent you guys a link on Skype.
Yeah, because why not?
Because we don't have any originality. You know what they really need to reboot?
What do they really need to reboot?
And may the main character rest in peace, Michael Vincent, Stringfellow Hawk, Airwolf. That would be an epic one to reboot.
I'm not really into.
Oh man, Airwolf was awesome.
Hey! You guys are going too far off topic off my movie. Let's just bask in the glory of how good my movie's going to be, Lost Boys. Which, by the way, I'm just giving you guys a heads up how I chose a couple of Michael J. Fox movies. We will be going down the rabbit hole of Corey's. By the way, just want you guys to know that.
I got a lot of memorables from Lost Boys, so I'm looking forward to the next week's. That'd be a good one.
There's actually a sequel movie out too. There's 2 movies, apparently.
Yeah, and the sequel was like straight to sci-fi.
Yeah,
The Tribe and then The Thirst.
Yeah, I don't care about those. They're not as good. There's no way they can be.
Well, all right, guys. I don't have anything else. Kind of a short recap, quick week. I tried to defend my movie. You guys suck, so I'll be
How
sure.
do I suck? I said it was cool.
I'm going to be sure and tear apart this movie. Just,
I agreed with you, jerk. And
I know.
You got to get better at closing us out. Come on.
Are you going to be the Drogo of the next movie? I will crush it.
Yes. So, no, it's always been fun. Like I said, I enjoyed it. So we'll look forward to next week. But the ushers are here. They're shining their flashlights in our eyes, telling us it's time to leave. So we're being kicked out of the Midlife Crisis Matinee. I'm your host, Carter. You can find me on Twitter at big_dues. Ray, where can they find you?
They can find me helping you find out a better way to close this every day.
Okay.
But besides that, I don't know, critic after credits one day, I'll jump on there because I need to talk about Captain Marvel and some other things that have been going through my head. So it's a discussion I want to have. So you'll find me one of these days. I'll let you guys know.
Jason, where can our listeners find you?
They can find me on my PC playing video games. Feel free to join me anytime. But it's under as No Says I, so West Virginia Ninja Fan, NOSEZ eyeball, and that's my Twitter handle as well. So yeah.
Hey, before we go, I want to say I don't know how.
I'm trying to close out the show, but so quit interrupting.
No. But I want to say whoever's listening to us, I don't know how many people actually do. Jason probably knows because he's the analytics guy in this whole situation. But thank you for taking time out to listen to us talk about movies and video games or whatever the hell we talk about. So just want to throw my appreciation out there from me, Carter, and Jason. So
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks to the listeners. So you can follow us on Twitter at Nerf Herder Radio. You can find us on Facebook at Nerf Herder Radio from the 80s. I forget what our Facebook is now. Like
Nerf Herder from the 80s.
Nerf Herders from the 80s. Like I mentioned last week, we're going through this rebranding process. So hopefully get that ironed out before too long. But for Ray, Jason, and myself, we appreciate everyone listening tonight, and we look forward to talking to you guys next week.
It came from the 80s.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
May the force be with you.
Seize the day.
I'll be back.
So say good night to the bad guy.
You can be my wingman anytime.
Bullshit. You can be mine.